Okay, today we have a review, a dually review of these two very, very good knives. The one of these is the Kiser Dogfish, and the other one is the Kiser Drop Bear in different configurations. So I'm gonna try and make this relatively brief. I'm not gonna go too much into the specs of these knives, just because they're very well documented. They're actually pretty popular knives, and honestly, from my experience, for good reason. So first, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get into this drop bear here. Now, this drop bear, it's this in this particular configuration, it has the aluminum scales, button lock. Has a nice little groove in it. Good jimping on it. I believe this is 154 cm steel, so very good quality steel. I think in this configuration, it's roughly about, I think, $100 some odd dollars, somewhere in that neighborhood. But you can get these in a more affordable configuration with, I believe, G10 scales. And the blade steel might, I don't know what the blade steel will be. It's not 154 cm. But it can become a little bit more affordable. It comes down to about maybe, I think, 70-80 bucks, something like that. I don't know. These are two knives that are on loan to me from my very precious poop brother over at the Pocket Bulge. Be sure to check him out. He's got great stuff over there. But getting into this review, so I believe he reviewed these on his channel, and he sent them over to me to, like, say, hey, I think you might like these. Check them out. And initially, I was like, okay, I knew about the Dogfish from before, and it did look like something that I was interested in. It is a little heavier than what I'd like, just because I kind of want something a little bit lighter in the pocket, at least at this size. If it was a little bit bigger, it makes sense to be a little bit heavier. But this thing feels really solid. It's super firm. Really firm lockup. No play in there at all. The button lock, works really well. I really like this D10. I love the reverse flick. It has you can flip it, in more traditional fashion with a very interesting flipper design here. You can front flip it. I'm terrible at it, but yeah, I absolutely suck at doing the front flipper on this one. And this really isn't the best example of a front flipper. But it's a fantastic example of a regular flipper in a much more slim, non-pocket pecking design. And of course, the reverse flick, absolutely love it. It's got really great ergonomics. The indent here, finger fits right there really well. There's a nice choil over here, so that you got a pretty good amount of sharpening on that, and there's a nice curvature, so you can fit your finger in there really well. The jimping over here is it's very smooth, but at the same time provides really great purchase onto the blade. It feels fantastic in the hand. Like you don't worry that this thing is going to slip out. Button lock performs very well, very reliably, very smooth. Pocket clip is also really good. Overall, there was really very little that I disliked about this. I don't like the front flipper, but that's not something that I'm restricted on. In fact, I love the fact that I can reverse flick it, I can flick it with the flipper, and if I really want to, I can deploy it with the button lock. So, I mean, that's 3 of 4 that, the button lock deployment, I'm not too big of a fan of it. Just because it's not as quick and snappy. Yeah, but it's still a fantastic knife. Great for ambidextrous. The pocket clip is reversible onto the other side, and the button lock is pretty easy to deploy. Left-handed. I'm not even a lefty, and I can deploy it pretty well. In fact, I think I like the button lock deployment in my left hand versus my right. So this is a very good knife. I would highly recommend it to many folks. I am interested in picking one up myself. Funds are not quite where they need to be for me to be able to justify a purchase like this. There you go. There's a good example. When a knife falls, you move your hands out of the way. Don't try and catch it. I think I learned that a very long time ago in the hard way. So here we go. That's the drop bear. That is the Dogfish. Next, we're going to go to the drop bear. Now, in this configuration, this is a, let's see here, LC200N steel. So pretty corrosion resistant. This is some fancy pants steel right here. Also, these scales, I don't know if they're aluminum or steel. They might be steel because they're kind of heavy, but they have like, kind of like a rainbow, anodization to it. Very, very nice, very, very fancy. And again, super firm lockup, nothing at play there. This is a crossbar lock. And yeah, you can deploy with a crossbar lock. Again, I'm not a very big fan of that kind of deployment just because it's nice to have it as an option, but it snaps out so satisfying. It's just the audio on it when you deploy this thing just feels fantastic, sounds fantastic, and the jimping goes all the way up like I think like 2/3 of the blade. Again, another knife that has fantastic ergonomics. This blade shape, very, very useful. In fact, I just used it a little earlier today to like, cut a small little skewer, like a piece of it off. And that round curvature of the blade lets you really rock and just do a lot of things to manipulate your usage of it. And highly corrosive, which, I really appreciate. I didn't think I would like this as much. Pocket clips, deep carry pocket clip, has a nice little contour to it, works well. I didn't think I'd like this as much. It felt really, really heavy, and I figured I'd like the crossbar lock. But once I started deploying it, I was like, oh my God, that feels so good. It's so satisfying in the hand. Like just, gosh, I could do that all day. I love flicking this thing. It's so much fun. And the crossbar is really, really good. Super reliable, super catchy. It doesn't it like springs out even when you press it kind of a bit. So you could really do quite a lot with this bar. I don't mess around with that too much. It's mostly just the flicking action. In fact, yeah, you can even reverse flick this thing. The detent on this is done really, really, really well. This is a very, very nice knife. I was much more happy with it than I thought I would be when it was first sent to me. In terms of the blade length, it's in the range of what I would say is acceptable. About 3 inches, maybe just a hair under. I have gotten used to larger blade lengths. The Dogfish is slightly longer. I believe the Dogfish is about 3 1/4, which this is a much more comfortable blade length for me nowadays. But again, the drop bear just feels so good in terms of its performance and just holding it in the hand. Even the heavier weight, it just feels more premium. It feels more reliable. It feels almost like tank-like in that, yeah, you drop this thing, you're not gonna have to worry about it. So in conclusion, these two knives, highly, highly recommendable. Let's get into their scoring. I will put the drop bear off to the side, and I don't want to end with that. There we go. So let's get that up there, and let's get my handy-dandy scoring sheet out. And move that up a little bit higher. There we go. And let's get my little dice. I need 7. Okay. Here we go. So I am going to rate this particular knife, the aluminum version. Like I said, there are other versions of this. They would probably get slightly different scores, like things in material and maybe value. But I'm gonna rate this one right here. So materials. In this configuration with the aluminum, it is quite good. I'm gonna give that a 5. It feels really good in the hand. This texture, and it's not a circle texture. It's actually a spiral. Like if you look really closely, it just gets wider and wider in concentric circles all the way around. It's not just circles, around each other. So this is one continuous line. Really cool machining. I love the fact that it matches the pocket clip. That is just it's. I mean, I'll just jump to craftsmanship right here. It's fantastic, beautiful craftsmanship. Very, very good knife. Ergonomics, yeah, I'm gonna give that a 5. It feels fantastic in the hand, fantastic to hold. I love that it has multiple deployment methods, and many of them, other than the forward flipping, just they feel great. Design, I'm hard pressed to give it anything less than a 6, maybe a 5, but that'd be nitpicky. Really, it's a fantastic design. You got enough. The cutout here is along the spine toward the top, where you're not going to have as much pressure here. So this doesn't create a weak point or any point of potential failure on the blade. At least not any kind of usage that this thing is designed for. So this is really just a great design. Versatility, I'll give that a 5. And the primary reason why I give it a 5 is that I wouldn't necessarily do heavy cutting with this one. The blade itself is a little small for that purpose. It just doesn't feel as capable. Again, I didn't put it through its paces to really confirm that, but just on this design, 5 is still a really great score for that. Carryability, very carryable. It's not that heavy. We can. I'm not even going to put on scale, but it's really not that heavy. It has a very slim profile, so it goes in the pocket very comfortably. And again, because it is a flipper and it doesn't have something that protrudes from the back of the spine, it's really not going to be uncomfortable to have in the pocket at all. In fact, between the two knives, I carried this one for quite a while, and really just came to appreciate and admire it. Value, man. I like the cheapskate in me wants to give it a 4, but I gotta be honest. It's a really good knife. 5. I'll give it a 5. You get quite a lot out of this design. It is such a winner. If this size of knife isn't off-putting to you, I would highly recommend this to anyone and everyone. It is really a fantastic knife. Yeah, me personally, I prefer something that is not. If this was Cerakote, then yeah, I'd be totally fine with that. Cerakote is like good stuff. But this, I don't know what kind of coating this is. I think it even picked up maybe a few scuffs here and there. I tend to like blades that are a bit matte or just a more natural steel color. This black coating, aesthetically it looks okay, but it's not really for me. And that's like a small nitpick. The aluminum does feel good and very premium. It has great grip. Maybe I would like just something like a G10. G10 to me, I think, is just as good. And me, I'm more of a budget affordable kind of person when it comes to knives, at least at this stage in my collecting. So I would kind of prefer that. But none of those things, I think, are really deal breakers to diminish from its score on value. So here you go. That is the Dogfish. Let's move on to the Drop Bear. Okay, and we're going to reset. Again, for this version, materials, I'm going to give it a 6. This is premium stuff right here. This configuration is really nice. This steel, it actually feels great. Like it's smooth, but there's texture to it, and it feels like it's going to just really be solid in your hand. A little bit of forward jimping might be nice, but you do get more cutting edge. And because this is a slightly shorter blade, I'm glad they didn't take anything away to just, add that. The handle it's fine. It's plenty big enough to be able to still do some pretty good work on this one. Ergonomics, I'm going to give it a 5. And the only reason why I give it a 5 is that for larger hands, they might have a bit of a hard time with this one. Mine is about medium size, and it feels comfortable for me. But if you have a larger hand and you don't have that option for that forward choil grip extension, then this might not be as comfortable for you. I like it. The clip, it feels okay, but again, it's still fantastic. I'm nitpicking at this point. I'm not just going to give it straight 6 across the board. I can see how this might be lacking in the ergonomics position. Not much. I mean, it's a 5 out of 6. It's still really good. Craftsmanship. This one is a 6. Again, super solid build. The crossbar lock functions fantastically. It's very springy. I believe this one also has, because it's Kiser, it has an adjustable tension on the spring. I'd have to double check that. I believe Kiser has that option on their crossbar locks. But the way this is, I don't know if my buddy tuned it or what, but my God, this thing just feels so good. It's fantastic. Very well crafted. Design. I'm gonna give it a 5. And the only reason why I give it a 5 is because I think that there should have been a version of this that was slightly larger. I don't know if there is. I don't believe there is, but if there was like a 3.5 version of this, then they pared this thing down, I would have to compare the two. But that's really the only shortcoming of this. I have gotten used to larger knives, and while this one does perform very well for a 3-inch knife, I do think that it could have benefited from being slightly larger. And then it also would have taken away, adjusted the whole grip length size issue that I just mentioned before. Versatility, 5, very, very versatile, very, very versatile. This blade shape, of course, is a very, very safe blade shape. This drop point, but the fact that it's so thick, you really feel like when you push through material, you're gonna get some really good performance out of this. It's a very high flat grind, but it's not a full flat grind, and just this thing just performs really, really well. I broke down 1 or 2 boxes. I don't want to do too many because I don't like ruining people's edges. I don't believe my buddy put his mirror edge on this, but that's okay. He'll get around to it, I'm sure. But this thing is really quite versatile. I think, again, just because it's a little small, it diminishes from its versatility. And again, it's a nitpick. Carryability. On this one, I'm actually going to give it a 4. It is pretty heavy, for the size of knife that it is. You could get a lighter version with different materials for, the scales and things like that. But still, 4 is pretty damn good. Again, I didn't carry this one as much as the Drop Bear just because you could see that the Drop Bear, it has a slightly different profile. It just takes up ever so slightly less space in the pocket. So, this one, it could be improved a bit in terms of just being a bit more carryable. And that's just, that's me. I like a more carryable knife. Or if it's going to be a heavier knife, I'd like it to be a bit fuller in size. And of course, you can always disagree with me. Value. I always sort of have a hard time with this one on certain knives, such as the Dogfish and the Drop Bear. I'm cheap, so because I'm cheap, I'm actually going to give this one if I can find it, a 4. And the only reason I give it a 4 is because I personally would not want to spend this much on a knife. I believe this one is it's over 100, which, well, it is it is a very good knife for $100. It's more than I need, more than I personally would want. So that's the reason why I give this a 4. If it was one of the lower configurations, some of these numbers would slightly be different, and I'm guessing carryability and value being the ones that would be the most different. Just because I don't think maybe materials, depending on the blade steel that they use for their lower grade version. But there you go. That is the Drop Bear, and in conclusion, that is my review of the Dogfish and the Drop Bear. Thanks again so much to my poop brother over at the Pocket Bulge. Please, please, please go check him out. His content is, I think, a lot better than mine. He gives much better commentary, but I'm going to give you very honest stuff, and I hope you enjoyed this little brief review. Please leave some comments. I'm really happy to have some conversations and discussions about stuff. Yeah, I'll try and post some more stuff. It's been really hard. I have a 5-month-old son, and it's very demanding, and I got 3 kids, so it's yeah, I don't have as much chance as I used to. Anyway, be safe out there, take it easy, and we'll see ya.